All right, Connie Lamb here. Thank you
Hi.
for joining us on the Future Fox podcast today
Absolutely.
with
Thanks for
the
having me.
Enlightened Chef Hospitality Consulting. It's right there on her nice little
Yes.
shirt. Cool. Why don't we start off? You just give us your elevator pitch of what you do,
Okay.
and why you do it.
All right. Well, I've been in the restaurant industry for 35 years. Everything from dining room to dumpster, I like to say.
Sure. Everyone
So-
knows exactly what you're talking about when you
Yep.
say that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
So started out doing dishes and ended up running restaurants. And I just realized that the restaurant industry needs a lot of help.
Mm.
You know, it's a stressful industry. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anybody
We've
that's
all
ever
seen The
been in
Bear.
it. Oh yeah. The Bear is like
Yeah.
so true to
Spot
life.
on,
It
yeah.
is. It is.
Yeah. My sister-in-law said she can't watch it. It
No.
gives her PTSD.
Yeah,
She was
it
a chef
does.
for a long time.
Uh-huh. Yeah. There are certain episodes that will get you. So, just helping restaurants in the hospitality industry elevate their level of hospitality,
Okay.
elevate their standards, because I think we've slipped a lot since COVID,
Okay.
and people struggle a lot in that industry and just need that support to come up alongside of them and help build their leaders, build their teams, build their culture.
Someone with some experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
And I
cool.
love that.
Well, I have a lot of questions for you
Oh.
about your business.
Okay.
But I want to talk about you as a person first and how
Okay.
you got to here, how you got that 35 years of experience. You grew up here in Colorado,
I
right?
did. I'm
Okay.
a native.
With a big family.
Big family.
Yeah, mostly in Littleton, but you moved around a lot, right?
Yep, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Cool. What was it like growing up with such a big family?
Well, I grew up with 12 other kids. So I'm the first
So
grandchild.
you didn't have your own room growing up.
No, there was like 3 or 4 people in a room. Yeah. And it's funny because I look at the house we lived in growing up and I'm like, how did we all live there?
Yeah.
Like, it's so small compared to, houses now.
Sure.
And it was a lot of fun, chaotic. And I think that set me up for the restaurant industry.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Because-
So true.
It's like, I
Your
just know
kitchen was like a
chaos.
restaurant every day.
Right. Yeah. I just know chaos. And so we had to eat in shifts. The table was only big enough for 6 or 7 people. So
Okay.
we'd do one shift and do the next shift. And
Okay.
yeah, it's just crazy to think back to how it was back then.
And were you a certain age when you got into the restaurant industry? Were you were working like in fast food when you were a teenager, or?
I knew when I was 7 I was going to be a chef.
Oh, wow.
I just knew.
How?
I just loved food, and I loved
Okay.
to see the reaction from people
Okay.
when they ate something that I made. And so I would rummage through the cabinets at home and I would come up with, crazy concoctions.
Okay.
Some worked,
Okay.
some not
did.
so.
Yeah.
So good.
I've eaten some of my kids' concoctions too.
Yeah, right? You just smile and go, oh,
Good.
yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Maybe ask for help next time.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll help you. So, and then I started as a teenager working and bussing tables.
Was there someone in your life that you lived with who was a good cook that you were kind of latched onto and hung out in the kitchen with?
Not really. I mean, we ate a lot of, it's funny because like I'm not crazy about vegetables now. I like them,
Sure.
but like we didn't grow up eating that stuff because we ate rice and pasta and
Okay.
stuff that would feed,
Yeah, 12 people.
12
Yeah.
people. And so I mean, there was good food in my house, but nobody that was really like inspiring me to be a chef.
Okay.
So I don't know where it came from. It
Okay.
just like happened one day.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It is
All right.
interesting.
And I do want to ask you about your dad.
Okay.
So you told me this, and I was just like fascinated. You grew up thinking someone was your dad.
I
and
did.
Recently, kind of found out he wasn't. And you got to
Yes.
meet your biological father.
I
Can you
did.
tell me that story?
Okay, so I grew up thinking someone was my biological dad who never had anything to do with
Right,
me.
okay.
I had met him like once. And so I just, realized I'd never know my real father. And in July of 23, I get this crazy email with the subject line father-daughter match on Ancestry.
Wow.
And at first when I read it, I was like, no, this is a scam.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So I
You
started
made a deposit $10,000
Yeah, right.
to
Yeah.
find out who it is. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I clicked on it. I read through it, and he had his, I don't know if you know this, but we've matched on Ancestry, and this is as big of a surprise as I'm sure it is to you.
Wow.
And he goes on to tell me about his life, and he's a professor in Philly, and he's this businessman, and he's a speaker and a consultant and an author and all these things I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so then it goes on to, feel free to give me a call. I've researched you. I know all about your business and your family. And I was just like, what? Yeah. So I immediately called my son, my middle son. I have 3. And I was like, dude, you're never going to believe this email I just got. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to call him? And so I ended up calling him.
Okay. How long did you think on it?
About 45 minutes.
Okay. That was not very long.
Yeah. No,
okay.
It was pretty quick.
All right.
And he answered the phone and said, hi, Connie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because he saw a Colorado number.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he is everything I imagined a father to be.
Oh, wow.
Like, he's the most amazing human. I'm so blessed. He's so happy to have a daughter.
Oh.
You know.
Does he have any other kids?
He has my half brother.
Okay.
Who's about 6 years younger than me. Okay. And then he lost a child 20 years ago.
Okay. Who
was his adopted son.
Okay.
And so, yeah. So
wow. Have you met your half brother too?
Oh, I have. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. He's super awesome. We're a lot alike. That's both
fun.
in the restaurant industry for a long time.
Nice. And you said that you and your dad are actually a whole lot alike. Huh?
We are. It's freaky. It's, he is just like this. When we talk business, it's crazy. And I was actually out for Father's Day. I surprised him, and his business partners were there, and we were talking business. And his business partner said, if I didn't know you were Dan's daughter, I would think you were Dan's daughter by the way you talk about business.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just goes to show like the biology kind of surpasses all sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
I guess.
It's a lot of nature.
Yeah,
you know?
it is.
Nurture helps.
It does.
It's a lot of nature.
Yeah.
We can't help who we are sometimes.
No, we can't.
Yeah.
No.
What a crazy story.
Yeah.
So how did Ancestry have your DNA? Did you do like an
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. In 21.
What made you do that?
I just thought, I don't know who my biological dad is. And
Okay.
I'd kind of
You
like
just put
to
it out
know
there.
what my makeup is,
Yeah.
And I came back half Jewish.
Okay.
And I was like, that's weird. Because the guy I thought was my dad, not Jewish.
Yeah.
And so then I just was like, meh.
And what made him want to do it, you know?
He just did it because he and his girlfriend decided to do it.
Okay.
And he thought, well, I'll just do it with you.
That's fun. Sounds fun.
Yeah. And then he was like,
surprise.
Surprise.
What an interesting surprise.
Yeah.
And
So
he was excited.
He was really excited.
That's
He's all
cool.
about family.
Yeah.
He's met my boys. So he
Okay.
flew out last November
Cool.
to meet my kids, and
That's crazy.
He's just over the moon. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be too, I bet. Yeah, I think if that was in my situation, I would feel really bad that I didn't get to be a part of their lives. And I
Right.
would want to make up for it, you know, and be as much a part as their lives as they would let me, you know?
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah. So it's
Awesome.
been great.
Yeah. So you've been in the restaurant industry for 35 years.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through briefly, like how you started, and then you said you got into fine dining, and then then you started your own catering business. Can you just give us a brief history of your, career in the food industry?
Absolutely. So I started probably when I was around 16, bussing tables, doing dishes.
Same. Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
Casa Ole.
Yeah. Mine was around the corner.
Okay.
Where you called on the phone. It was cool. You called
What is it?
It's called Around the Corner.
Okay.
And it was a burger joint. And you called on the phone to place your order at your table.
You had
a phone on the table.
On the table was a phone.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you'd just call in and they'd put your order in. It was crazy.
Fun.
So I worked there and then just gradually worked my way up. I moved to Boston when I was 19.
Okay.
Managed a French bakery cafe out there.
What made you go to Boston?
I had a friend that lived out there.
Culture
And
shock,
I'm a big gypsy soul.
Okay.
So,
you just wanted to get out and
I'm
travel.
So I had $1,000 in 2 duffel bags and
Nice.
moved to Boston, and
Why not?
I managed a French bakery cafe in Harvard Square.
Cool. What year was that?
So like 89.
Okay.
Move out there, and it was cool. So went there, then moved back. Decided to start, working in some more upscale restaurants. I worked at Josefina's. It was an Italian restaurant here in town, and decided to go to culinary school briefly.
Okay.
And I was working at a country club a little while after Josephina's. And the chef said to me, "Why are you paying somebody to teach you when I'll pay you to teach you?" And I was like, that's a much better idea.
Like, that's a good question.
I like
hadn't
that.
thought that through. Maybe because no one's ever offered to pay me to teach me.
Yeah. So I started apprenticing under chefs, and
Cool.
I worked at country clubs.
And that just made more sense in culinary school.
Oh, yeah. Because really the only culinary school in that time was Emily Griffith.
Okay.
And so
did you feel like you needed to go to culinary school to achieve your goals, or you just needed to know how to be a chef?
Yeah, I just needed to know.
Okay.
And I think back, people always talk about culinary school, but I'm just not a big fan of culinary school.
Okay. How come?
Especially managing people. I would rather pull somebody off the street and train them than retrain somebody that's been to culinary school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they pick up bad habits in culinary school or learn things how you don't want them to be done.
Yes, exactly. Or real life restaurants are a lot different than culinary school.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you give me an example?
It's very by the book in culinary school, and in real restaurants, I mean, it's chaos. Yeah. It's like you got to pivot. You got to
get it done.
Yeah. Right? You got to be resilient. You got to think on your feet. And not that they don't teach that in culinary school, but real life restaurants are different.
Yeah.
It's a big change.
It's hard to learn from a textbook.
Yeah, it is. You got to be hands-on. You got to be in the trenches. So, and that's kind of how I work. Like I learn better being in the trenches than reading a book and studying. It's just the way my brain works.
Yeah. Oh, same here.
Yeah.
I was terrible at school.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, I got I got a psychology degree in college. I got to my halfway through my junior year, and I was like, what can I do with this? I'm like, you're going to need to go to more school. I'm like, that's not going to happen.
No.
What else can we do? And I was like, can I change degrees? And they're like, not at this point. I was like, all right, I'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
Let me just get this degree and then I'll go figure it out. So yeah, because I realized it took me 21 years to realize I was bad at school.
I know.
I was smart, so I was able to get through grade school pretty easy. But then when I got to college and it got hard, I was like, I don't want to do this.
No.
I don't want to study. I don't want to read a textbook.
Right.
I want to get out, get my hands dirty and learn that way. I'm a fast learner that way. So
yeah, me too.
Cool. Okay. So you've worked in a lot of different situations.
I have.
Can you maybe tell me a little bit, what do you feel like all those food industry, all the different, ways that you've worked in food industry, what do they all have in common? What do people need to know?
They teach you how to think quickly on your feet. They teach you how to pivot, how to have people skills, Yeah. I look at the leader I was back when I first started, when I was, 19 or whatever, managing people, to now.
Yeah. Are you kind of embarrassed?
Yeah. I mean, I've been a bad manager. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but you were probably really good for a 19-year-old.
Maybe.
I mean, someone thought so because they put you in that position.
That's true. I had a passion for it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what made me, want to lead.
What's the mentality? I feel like you have to have a certain mentality working in food industry when it gets to that, because it can get really stressful.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a time crunch.
Yep.
And people are waiting on their food, and this got burnt, and this person didn't show up. What is your mentality of how do you keep a cool head and be a good leader in those hyper stressful situations? What are you telling yourself?
You just have to tell yourself, you have to remain calm, because if the captain panics, the whole ship will panic.
Okay.
And so you can be panicking inside, but the outside has to be super cool. And you just have to think quickly on how you're going to change the situation and delegate and know who's strong in what role to get you to the end result. And so you have to know your people so that you know who can change this situation for you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's managing personalities.
It is.
And putting the right people in the right places.
It is. And that took me a long time to realize that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to know your people.
You do.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
Especially there's a lot of turnover in food industry.
There is. But I think if you take care of your people will take care of you.
Okay. Because
I had an amazing team at the last restaurants I managed.
Cool.
And they just ran like clockwork.
That's nice.
And when something would hit, they wouldn't panic. They just would make it happen.
They had the reps.
They did.
Good.
Yeah.
Good training too. All right. So the Enlightened Chef.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, so, to be enlightened is to be open to all different ideas.
Yeah.
And then a chef is someone who is kind of that strong leadership and wants to teach other people. So we wanted to create a consulting firm that actually goes out and not only trains people on systems, but trains people on how to be great leaders.
Okay.
And great leaders result in happy teams. Happy teams result in a strong culture. And then it ends up helping your bottom line and creating really satisfied customers, which is what you want.
Tell me about so you had a successful catering company that you stepped away from to do this.
Yes.
Is that a hard decision?
Yes, I'm still trying to step away.
Okay.
So the end of the year is
right.
kind of my hard line, but it's funny because I just had a conversation on my way here and people are still trying to, keep me in it. So it is really hard because it's interesting.
What's pulling you back in?
The comfort.
Okay.
Yeah. That comfort zone thing.
Sure.
Yeah. It's pretty easy to fall back into.
Mm-hmm.
And the love of food. I love seeing people's faces when they walk in and see the food and go, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But I want to help other people create that because there is a skill to that. It's like getting in your zone and being an artist. Okay.
Yeah,
it's a little different than just pumping out food.
Sure.
Because anybody can pump out food. But when you get in your zone and you create these beautiful works of art, and I hear often like, I don't want to eat it. It's so pretty.
Oh, yeah. That's
and
cool.
I'm like, but that's what I made it for.
Yeah.
So it is hard to let it go because it is a comfort zone for me. And I actually started the company not to cater. It was to teach people cooking classes in their homes after COVID.
Okay.
And so originally that was what that company was about. I was going to go to people's houses and teach classes. And I just taught a class last week for 30 people.
Okay.
And I love the class because, again, it's teaching and giving people knowledge. And so, yeah, it's been tough pulling away. Yeah.
All right. Well, where are you finding clients for the Enlightened Chef? How are people finding out about you? What is your ideal client there? Who are you looking for?
So how people find me is how I built my other companies is word of mouth.
Okay.
Because who your network equals your net worth, right?
Sure.
And so just getting out there, and when people get to know you, people buy from people they like, know, and trust. And so a consultant is very personal, right? You're in there, you're in the trenches with them, you're in their books, you're in their
and they're taking
operation.
A big risk, you know, by hiring you because they're not guaranteed a return on investment. This is a long-term vision that they have to invest in up front on. And we all know that margins in the food industry are pretty small already. So they're taking a chunk of their profits, giving it to a consultant.
Right.
So how do you communicate the return on investment to them?
It's really about their commitment, and when they know their commitment, together we can create something really great.
What do you mean by their commitment?
So they have to want to put in the sweat equity. The sweat equity. They have to want it as much as we want it for them, right?
Yeah.
Because I've seen other restaurants who have hired consultants. The consultant comes in, they give them ideas, and then they take the ideas and they put them on a shelf and keep going how they want to go. And so they have to be committed to that change. And sometimes that can be tough.
Yeah.
And getting people on board.
Especially doing it amongst the midst of running the restaurants.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we're going to keep doing everything that we're doing.
Yeah.
We're also going to bring a consultant in and learn how to do things better and change up our systems. And Yeah.
And so we try to make it as painless as possible. Sure. Like we want it to create more happiness for them. It shouldn't be about creating more stress. So change should be about making it better, making it happier.
It's gonna be painful changing things, but if you can see the immediate results, then it helps.
Yeah. And so I like to come in and reassure them, like, it's going to be great. And I've taken over a lot of kitchens and restaurants where I go in and they aren't liking it, where I've managed. And, you get that pushback from the employees and other
this
management.
Isn't the way I've always done this.
Right. We've been doing this this.
It worked for us.
Fine. Yeah. And once you not make them realize, when you help them see the vision, that's when it all changes.
Yeah.
And then you see like the light bulb go on.
Cool.
And I remember one instance in particular. I had this guy that worked for me, big, huge guy, young, early 20s. And I come in and he's like not having it.
Sure.
He's like, we've been doing this all this time and it works for us. And why are you coming in here changing things? And I'm like, buddy, just give me a chance. Let me show you. It's going to be so much easier.
Trust the process.
Yeah. Just let go and trust. And after a couple weeks, he's like, all right, I get it.
Took him a couple of weeks though, huh?
It did.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
did he come back and apologize or admit it?
It's funny because he actually wrote me a poem.
Oh,
like a couple years later.
Culinary people are
I know.
artsy,
they
so
are
emo.
So artsy.
Yeah.
They are. And he said, nobody ever believed in me like you believed in me.
Oh,
yeah.
That's good.
And I said, dude,
that'll
I
keep
see
you
your
going
greatness.
for a while, huh?
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I want other people to see in themselves. Like they are poised for greatness. Sometimes they just can't see it.
Yeah.
And you get stuck in that same old. And so it's having someone help you see that there's a different way.
Okay. Now, tell me about your ideal client. What are their problems that you guys are like? Who should be looking to hire you?
So people that maybe
restaurants,
but
also other food
service. Yeah. Okay. So we work with K through 12 food service.
What does that mean? Like school cafeterias?
Yeah, kindergarten through 12th grade.
Okay.
So my business partner has over 35 years in the industry as well, with a chunk of that in food service.
That's a lot of it's a lot of experience between the two of you guys.
Yeah, and he has
a lifetime of experience.
Yeah, and he has a master's in public health.
Oh, cool.
And his degree is in nutrition.
Okay.
Yeah, so
he's a great partner for you then.
Oh yeah.
You guys, perfect match. Okay.
Yeah, we're great together.
Cool.
And so anyone like that, we work with assisted livings and independent livings. Okay. We both have that.
Those are two very different scales, right?
They are.
K through 12 can be pretty big operations, and then all the way down to small like assisted living communities.
Yeah. Or mom and pop restaurants.
Okay.
Or restaurant groups. So really, it's anyone in the food service or hospitality industry.
Okay.
And we work with everything from training leaders. Because it starts with a strong leader.
Tell me about like what problems they're having that they would look to you.
So they could have problems with just their management team working well together, getting that culture in line. So I love working with culture. I love working with leaders and helping them change their mindset.
Okay.
And
do you have resources that you've created that you're implementing?
Yes.
Cool.
So we have our own training programs that we've created. Cool. We come in and, see where the pain points are and then do a comprehensive analysis on where we want to be, where they want to be, and then implement the systems so that we can,
and how do you
them.
Position your services and like what sort of investment are most of your clients making?
We want to custom build it. So we might have somebody that just needs menu development. We come in and help them with that.
Oh, cool.
And that's, a certain price. Or we have somebody that just needs us to come in and train their leadership team and help flip their culture.
Okay.
And that's another thing. And then we can help companies build a brand from the ground up.
Cool.
Come in and help them with all, their human resources and their systems and finding the right purveyors.
On average, how long are you working with someone? Usually
a couple months.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine sometimes it's shorter if it's something simpler, and sometimes longer if they're doing a full brand for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But a couple months is typical, 2-3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And we'd love to work with them longer and just be alongside of them.
Yeah.
Just have us.
Do you
as
have
a
clients
resource.
who hire you for a season and then we'll come, go on, and then, hey, we need to bring them back in. We need to bring them back.
We need a little refresher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is good because
that's nice because you're familiar with their business already.
Exactly.
And you can step back in and
Yeah.
less lead up time, less introductory on figuring out who they are and what their problems are. So
yeah. And they trust us. So then, they want us to come back in.
Nice. So what is the biggest mistake that you feel like you see your clients making?
Having too big of a menu.
Okay. Why is that a bad thing?
Because you're running into a lot of waste.
Yeah.
It's hard to manage something
to prep
like that.
For all those different things.
And it's just a lot of food.
So when you go to Chili's and you see they have like,
oh my God, Cheesecake Factory is like my nightmare.
Yeah. There's 6 pages.
I'm like,
how long should a menu be?
Ideally I love a 1 or 2 pager.
Just like front and back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that because you should take what you do and do it really well.
Yeah.
Like don't try to be everything to everybody.
Yep.
I see these companies.
We do that in our business too. Sometimes we just say, no, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Because we can't,
Yeah.
We lose out on opportunities and money, but it's like, we don't do that.
Yeah.
It's just, we just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the whole mac and cheese craze or the hot chicken craze. Like everybody's jumping on these bandwagons and they're just, halfway pulling it off. And so, take
bad
what you
experience
do.
for your customers too, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. And for your staff. I mean, you're overworking your staff. You're expecting so much out of them that they get burnout.
I mean, the fine dining, I don't do a lot of fine dining, look at me, but they usually have just like a set menu, right? For a week or so.
Yeah.
And
or they'll do a seasonal, some do
Okay.
seasonal, some change monthly.
Okay.
Yeah.
How often do they typically change? I mean,
It depends on the restaurant. I mean, some change daily, which is crazy to me.
That is insane. Yeah.
That's like really, elite, high end.
Yeah.
But
how you do it. That's so much time and energy and effort into building menus every single day.
And seasonally is great because then you can build off what's in season.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Uh-huh.
But then if someone wants to come back to your restaurant, are they eating the same thing if they come back once a month,
Yeah. And here's the thing. It's like people get stuck in a rut. I mean, I'm guilty.
Sure.
I go to restaurants and I order the same thing because I love it.
Yeah.
But you're introducing people to new things seasonally that they might not think of, which is great.
Yeah.
And so
I like
love
when there's
that
limited
aspect.
options. Like I grew up in a small town. My wife grew up in a big town. She's like, oh, how could you I'm like, we kind of have all the same things. We just have less options and it's just easier to pick. You know what I mean? Like you just we only have 2 options. You want a burger. There's only 2 places that have burgers on the menu. So which one do you fill in?
Exactly.
I kind of like limiting my options because
I do too.
I get overwhelmed with, the burden of choice,
Yeah. And I do too, because I feel like I have to read the entire menu.
Oh,
so I make
bet
the
you
right
do.
choice.
Yeah. You're reading, you're not just reading the headings, you're reading what's in each one.
Yes, I am. And the flavor combinations and how things taste together. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the nicest restaurant you've ever been to?
One of my favorites is Garden Grace.
Okay. Where's that?
Yeah. It's downtown.
Here in
17th in
Denver?
California, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
He does it very well. It's Troy Gard.
Cool.
It's his restaurant group.
What's it called? Garden Grace?
Garden Grace.
Cool.
Yeah, it's named after his daughter.
I'll have to take my wife sometime.
Yeah, it's delicious.
What
Try
kind of food
the
is it?
it's a steakhouse,
Okay.
but try the gyoza. It's an
Okay.
appetizer. The pitchfork sauce on that is like on point.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I got my mouth watering a
I
little
know,
bit.
right?
All right. If someone hypothetically was listening to this, or if we clip this section for social media, someone's in the food industry, they're struggling. What are can you give us just 3 quick tips you feel like every person running a food service business could benefit from? Give us a few tips.
Okay. Stop trying to be everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Find the right positions for your people. A lot of people are in the wrong position and they don't see the talent in their people because sometimes they're so busy doing everything that they don't have the time to recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be everything to everyone, like the menu. If somebody says, oh, you don't have mac and cheese, don't add it to your menu. Oh, you don't have this kind of beer? Don't add it to your menu.
Don't feel like you're missing opportunity.
Yes. Because what happens? No. Because I've seen this often where people will add something to their menu because one person suggests it. And then it's like they're sitting on that item.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't be everything to everyone. Offer what you offer, and the right people will show up.
Yeah. And then you're also forcing people to try new things, which is an experience. And
Yes.
they will remember that,
Yeah.
you know, even if they didn't like it. It's like they at least had a new experience. They tried something new.
Right.
That's what I try to teach my 3-year-old and my 6-year-old.
Right.
Like, just try it.
Yeah.
See, you might like it.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I always tell my 8-year-old loves salmon. And I'm like, yeah, but one day you said you didn't like salmon, then you tried it and you realized it's your favorite.
Right.
What if this is better than salmon?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And
totally.
that usually convinces her to at least take a bite.
Yes.
So now my 3-year-old and my 6-year-old,
they're not eating the
they're
salmon.
not into anything.
No.
Well, cool. Let's talk about the future of Enlightened Chef. What's
Okay.
on the horizon for you?
Oh, so we have big plans.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's hear them.
we do.
Are they secret or can we hear
No,
a
they're
little bit?
not. So our goal is to eventually own a nonprofit.
Okay.
To
Cool.
to empower and nourish communities.
Okay.
Because we see that need, right? People have become disconnected what real food is, for one.
Yeah.
What community is. And we want to bring that back into our communities.
Yeah.
Is that sense of community, eating real foods, educating children and families on cooking and preparing and growing and all these wonderful things that we used to do years ago.
Yeah.
That have fallen by the wayside because of busy families or whatever, busy lifestyles. So eventually, the Enlightened Chef, we will have our consulting business. But eventually our goal is to have a nonprofit to give back to the world, to build these community centers across the U.S. and have community gardens where people can garden. It's great for mental health.
Yeah.
Digging in the dirt is wonderful for your brain. They can see how food is grown, bring kids into the program. They can pick their own vegetables and then learn how to cook them. So we'll have big commercial kitchens. We'll have a big community space for people to have, we'll have one indoor and out. I've already drawn out the building. My son said he'll cool. Draw it up on CAD for me.
Nice.
But having those community spaces that people can come together and
just
gather
a great
over
third
a meal.
Space.
To gather over a meal and get to know new people, because when I was growing up, you knew everybody. You knew your whole block. And now people don't know their neighbors.
Guilty.
I know, right? Yeah.
I will say, if they have kids in this neighborhood, we definitely know them. If they have kids, they're over at my house almost every day.
Okay.
But if they don't have kids, it's they kind of just stay in their house. And I agree. I'm a big proponent of third spaces. Love third spaces, I think, and gathering around and breaking bread together is the best way to build community and get to know each other. And
absolutely.
My wife and I often have people come over for dinner. We host Thanksgiving for like a Friendsgiving.
Love that.
So my wife is actually a pretty good cook. And so we do our best, but we're busy like everyone else. We're busy and it's hard and we don't get to do it as much as often. And
right.
I find we often invite people, have people over, but people don't ever invite us over.
Right.
Maybe it's because we have 3 little kids, but no, but that would be awesome to have a third space, teach people how to cook, especially young kids, like there's kids in my daughter's class, 3rd grade class that don't know all their fruits and vegetables.
Right. Exactly.
And that's crazy to me.
Exactly.
My kid knows what an eggplant is,
Yeah.
So that's pretty surprising. But all right. And then that's on the horizon. What are you most excited about right now? What do you got going on right now that you're excited about?
I think it's just getting out there and helping more people, changing the culture in the restaurant industry because it is so stressful, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way. And I've seen that. I was running 4 restaurants pre-COVID.
Wow.
And I had the most amazing team. And it's because I empowered my people. I wasn't trying to control them. And I think a lot of times, not just leaders in the restaurant industry, but leaders all over, they try to maintain control instead of empowering their people to take charge and ownership of certain pieces of the business. And then it completely shifts your business and creates something really beautiful.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it. Tell people where they can find you online, and where do you want people to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's theenlightenedchef.com is where they can find us. And then if they're looking for restaurant consulting, we love to build it specifically for them.
Okay.
We're not just a cookie cutter consulting firm.
Cool. So they need to book a call with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they can do that through our website.
On the website, theenlightenedchef.com.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Connie.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.